Hi everyone, welcome to Up Next. I'm Donna Farizan, and I'm so excited to introduce you to change makers and trailblazers who are shaking up the world. First up, Alex Cooper. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, you may know her as Call Her Daddy, which is the name of Alex's podcast. And I couldn't wait to turn the tables and ask her some burning questions. Okay, Alex Cooper, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Call Her Daddy is everywhere.
I was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems.
Right.
That was kind of the start of the demise of the marriage.
In just 2 seasons on Spotify, 28-year-old Alex Cooper has the most listened to podcast for women on the platform, charting at #1 worldwide.
It's so crazy to me. I still don't identify with like the hot blonde girl that I created in the beginning of Call Her Daddy.
What is up, Daddy Gang? It is your founding father, Alex Cooper, with Call Her Daddy.
What is the meaning behind Call Her Daddy?
It's definitely a play off of men run the world, no, we run the world. You're daddy, no, I'm daddy. And so I think it was like a reclaiming for women to be like, you can also be the boss, the king. You can drive your own narrative. Like, yeah, call me daddy.
He's like, don't even shave. Like, I want you literally off a workout, sweaty.
When Call Her Daddy launched 4 years ago, it had a more salacious vibe. Now the podcast offers more topical newsy issues such as reproductive rights and mental health, and is a go-to stop for many young celebrities.
As I'm sitting in this chair that all your guests sit in, it's cozy, it's comfortable, I feel relaxed. Is comfort part of your strategy in getting people to open up?
I know how I open up is to feel like I'm hanging out with my girlfriends. I want to feel like there's no pressure, there's no one around, let's just chill.
Hailey Bieber, welcome to Call Her Daddy.
The first episode of this current season featured Hailey Bieber, who, for the first time, publicly shut down rumors she started seeing now-husband Justin Bieber while he was in a relationship with someone else.
I can say, period, point blank, I was never with him when he was in a relationship with anybody. That's the end of it.
It really was on Hailey to like open up and be honest, and I think it was really brave of her.
Less than a month after the episode dropped, Hailey was photographed for the first time with Selena Gomez, whom Bieber famously dated.
I think the whole thing was just really cool because I was happy to help facilitate in any way I could, and I think that's kind of like the special thing of Call Her Daddy. Let's get to know the people and their personalities rather than make snap judgments.
Your target demo is millennials, Gen Z.
I've actually had a lot of moms reach out to me that they're like, my daughter introduced me to Call Her Daddy. She's like, call her grandma. I'm like, no, you're like a boss, stop. But what I do realize is it's just life, right? Like past generations were not as open as now we have become, and it's just a slow progression. I think it's healthy that parents are willing to listen to what their children are interested in, and then it creates a conversation.
Your dad was a sports producer and gave you your first camera, and your mom, I heard you say, and I loved this, that she valued EQ over IQ.
Thank God. Thank God, Mom.
But how do you think your parents helped you mold the ability to innovate?
They have always been my #1 supporters. Like, even when people in my extended family were like, has she lost her mind? My parents were like, no, because we know Alex and we know how we raised her and we know her talent.
So they listened to every episode.
My dad did not listen to everyone. My mom would have the morning coffee and be like, okay, don't listen this week. And my mom loved it. She was like, I know. When my mom
like, you go, girl.
Oh, she's like, you haven't taught me one new thing. I'm like, Mom, what?
Her parents have a lot to be proud of, including making Spotify history with the biggest exclusive deal for a woman-led podcast.
You were oftentimes the only woman in the room. What have you learned about yourself in this past year?
It was a moment for me to build confidence when I go to negotiate that next deal. I'm gonna probably be the loudest one in the room. Not because I am trying to overcompensate, because I know what I want.
Now to an extraordinary author and poet, young Pueblo, inspiring millions with his words, myself included. So I was excited to sit down with him and learn more about his journey.
If you've ever scrolled on social media, you may have already come across the words of young Pueblo. Diego Perez is the poet behind the pen name, inspiring readers with wisdom like, realize how short the walk is from gratitude to happiness, and manage your reactions, but do not suppress your emotions. Since he first began sharing his words of wisdom in 2014, young Pueblo has connected with over 2 million followers and has written 2 New York Times best-selling books of poetry on topics like self-love, growth, and relationships.
When you first started posting your writing, what was your intent?
I wanted to write about healing being possible. Just hopefully inspire someone else out there who also needed to find a way to heal themselves.
Diego and his family emigrated from Ecuador to Boston, Massachusetts when he was 4 years old.
My mom, she worked cleaning houses. My dad worked at a supermarket, so we were really stuck in a poverty trap. And then I think a lot of that tension just got embedded inside of me as well. When I got to college, I could not deal with any tension that was coming up inside of me. I would quickly try to hide it with drugs, with smoking, with going to more parties.
What was the breaking point for you?
It was right after college. This time I pushed my body to the edge, and I took, an assortment of different drugs. I felt like my heart was going to explode. I ended up talking to a doctor after that episode, and she told me what I described to her sounded like a mild heart attack.
How has being first-generation American affect your overall outlook of life, especially in that point?
The first thought is my parents. I saw the immense sacrifice that they made to just give us the chance at a better opportunity. I felt like I was giving all of that up by just filling myself with more and more pleasure just so that I could run away from my pain. I knew that the only way out was to start telling myself the truth.
In 2011, Diego started taking small steps toward building positive habits. These improvements eventually led him to daily meditation.
So the meditation has given me a way to process these really tough emotions. And when something challenging happens, I notice that I can feel my reaction, but it's not as overwhelming as it used to be.
And meditation gave you the clarity and creativity to write and share.
Definitely. I mean, I was never creative before meditating, and I didn't go into meditating to become more creative. When the mind becomes lighter and it's not as burdened by past hurt that you carry, this creativity bubbles up.
Diego's poems have been liked and shared thousands of times. And in his newest book, titled Lighter, Diego shares his own journey and advice on how to achieve personal transformation.
What do you hope is the biggest takeaway for people who come to you and look to your words?
I hope they take away inspiration. It's really possible to transform your life. It's really possible to sort of take that big leap forward in your own evolution.
Up next, a Wall Street trailblazer empowering women to take control of their money. Right after this. Welcome back to Up Next, where we introduce you to folks doing extraordinary things and inspiring others. Lauren Simmons did something in her 20s not many people thought was possible. And now she's an entrepreneur and money expert on a mission. Biggest question to ask yourself when setting financial goals.
What is your long-term goal? And what does your future look like?
For 27-year-old Lauren Simmons, her future is looking bright. As a podcast host, author, and entrepreneur, Lauren is a rising star in the finance world. After graduating from Kennesaw State University in 2016, Lauren moved to New York City, where she landed a job as a stock trader. And at just 22 years old, she became the youngest person and only the second Black woman in the New York Stock Exchange's 230-year history.
Did you realize that you were breaking barriers?
Absolutely not. I just wanted to make my mom happy. And when I passed the exam, which, mind you, the men on the floor were openly taking bets against me before the exams.
Did you know that was happening?
Yes. I let my work speak for itself. The day that I passed the exam, Richard Rosenblatt, at the time CEO and founder of Rosenblatt Securities, came downstairs and we get this badge. He was ringing the bell that day. He's like, we got to get Lauren a badge. She has to come on stage with me. I was the youngest member and he was the oldest member. It was such a beautiful moment.
What was it like being a wolfette among the wolves of Wall Street?
Once I passed the exam and I proved myself, the men on the floor gave me the same respect as the other men. I got to change people's opinions, and
And I feel like that has a far bigger impact than it would if I was in a space that was a little bit more diverse.
29. Yes. 29.
Since leaving Wall Street in 2019, Lauren is expanding the money conversation and making it more accessible for young people and women with projects like her podcast, Money Moves.
Why do you want to make financial literacy so available to everyone, but specifically to younger people?
And I think the early that we can be transparent about salaries, credit, money, what we want financially in relationships, the more empowered we can be in the long run for our future.
What would you tell young Lauren?
What would I tell her? Oh my goodness, you're gonna make me cry. I, would tell her everything happens for a reason and it's gonna work out just fine.
Okay, let's get cozy on the couch and get out of my comfort zone, talk some finances.
Yay,
okay.
I'm excited.
Courage to talk about finance. I'm gonna ask you some quick spitfire financial questions.
Okay.
Best tip to save?
Budgeting.
Can you tell me about the 50-30-20 budget rule, by the way?
Yeah, so 50% goes to your expenses after taxes, because people seem to forget that. 30% goes to your future, 20% goes to your wants.
And what is the best way to budget?
Understanding where your money is going and not being afraid to check your bank account.
That is sometimes scary.
Very scary. You gotta get out of that.
Most important argument to have when negotiating a raise?
Understand what it is that you want and what you're willing to compromise on. And realizing that negotiating a salary is not all about money. It can be time off. There's so many other different options.
And should you always be over negotiating?
Yes.
Okay.
Let them knock you down. Don't under.
I feel like, honestly, I feel like a little weight is lifted off my shoulder. Like I should be able to take better control of my finances and what I want.
Not you should, you will.
I will. I will.
You will.
Cheers.
Cheers.
From Wall Street to whiskey, of course. In less than 2 years, Screwball peanut butter whiskey has sold an impressive 1 million cases. And I caught up with the company's co-founder, Steve Yang, to learn more. Hit me with the Screwball. Cheers!
A shot of whiskey is usually the sign of a good time. But for Stephen Yang and his family, this drink represents so much more.
Nowhere else in any other country would be a Cambodian refugee, a mom with a chemistry background and a law degree, create a peanut butter whiskey and became the most successful launch super premium liquor in history. We are ultimately the American dream.
Stephen is the co-founder of the popular Screwball peanut butter whiskey, and his story of success began more than 8,000 miles from his home in San Diego to a childhood marked by tragedy in Cambodia.
There was a whole genocide that happened from 74 to 79. I caught polio when I was 1 year old. And so my parents decided to drop everything and decide to leave Cambodia and go into a refugee camp. And that journey was extremely difficult. My mom was pregnant with my little brother at the time when we were crossing the landmine borders.
The Yang family endured the dangerous journey and sought safety in a refugee camp in Thailand, where they stayed for 6 years.
You describe your parents as being so optimistic, but the most optimistic person in that situation, I'm sure, feels beaten down. What kept you going?
A parent's love for their child. They truly believe they could get me medical help.
And what was your physical state like at this time?
After a couple years or so, I couldn't walk anymore because my leg, my muscle didn't develop anymore. And so how I really get by is just 2 sandals on my feet and 2 sandals on my hand and just crawl.
Wow. That's really tough.
In 1992, the Yang's hopes were answered when they got sponsored to move to California, where Stephen was able to receive the medical care he needed.
We were all skin and bone, didn't speak any English. We would always get basket food all the time, and it would be some fruits, bread, and then peanut butter. That was my first basket I ever had, was peanut butter. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? So for me, peanut butter was a taste of freedom.
Fast forward to 2006, Stephen opened OB Noodle House with his brothers Scott and Kyle. There, he let his love for peanut butter run wild.
I put peanut butter in everything. Peanut butter in wings, and fried rice, and then I started putting peanut butter with Jameson.
That tastes like peanut butter.
We turned that into Screwball peanut butter whiskey.
His wife, Brittany, figured out how to make it work.
She's the brain in all this. She was able to use her chemistry background to formulate the brand and also really create everything from the bottle and just look at all the contracts. Without my wife, there would be no Screwball.
The brand struggled to find bottlers, distributors, and investors. Ultimately, Stephen and Brittany financed the company themselves.
How did you continuously believe in yourself when there were so many external factors that were consistently breaking you down?
How we believe in is what my parents taught us also. We now have a child. We're thinking setting a better future for our daughter. So that was the strength that got us going. Since we launched, we were the fastest to 1 million flat cases for a premium brand.
America loves a good drink.
Yes, God bless America.
Since its launch in 2018, the drink has exploded in popularity, even gaining celebrity fans like Questlove and Dave Grohl. And with its success, Stephen is committed to giving back.
I was on the opposite side, and now it's just coming back full circle.
Most recently providing aid for Ukrainian refugees in Poland and donating $100,000 to orphanage renovations, all part of the brand's mission to spread kindness to those in need.
I believe we could achieve progress by working together. Take this single chopsticks right here. When you're single, it's easily broken. But if we come together and work together, we reinforce and support each other. We will thrive if we work together.
An incredible story of resilience. Coming up next, two of fashion's rising stars. Welcome back. If you love high fashion and red carpet style, like myself, we can pretty much guarantee some of the looks you've seen over the past decade were curated by Law Roach. Law is the force behind so many well-dressed celebrities, including one of my favorite style stars, Zendaya. And he told me his passion for fashion started at an early age. Take a look.
I remember vividly watching her whole everything change. The persona, the walk, the way she held her head high.
Law Roach's appreciation for the impact style has on women started decades ago with his grandmother back in Chicago. Growing up, you'd watch her get ready for church and sort of see her have a little pep in her step just by dressing a way that she felt good in.
That memory is so important to me. Like, I still feel the way she changed, and every time I'm able to get that from one of my clients, it's like a drug to me, honestly. It fuels me.
Looking to your left, please. Zendaya! And Zendaya looking down. Turn to your left, show us the front.
These days, when you see Zendaya, Venus Williams, Kerry Washington, or Celine Dion, you're likely also seeing the influence of Law Roach. His job is to carefully craft the visual image of his clients. And his career is exploding as a result. Law's work was featured on 32 covers last year alone. He was just named West Coast editor of British Vogue, and he recently styled Zendaya for the cover of Time's 100 Most Influential. A portfolio so massive, he trademarked his own title.
You prefer the term image architect to stylist. What does that mean to you?
I started to think about what it is that I really did. I do all this research and I look at everything this person has ever worn and see the things I really like and things I don't like so much. And so I take all that data and I kind of build a blueprint. And when I started to think of it that way, it was really, really similar to what an architect does.
But his impact goes far beyond fashion, famously working with Celine Dion after the passing of her husband. Celine saying, "He brought me out of my closet and now flowers are growing."
I really care. I love what I do. I just really want to add value to any situation that I'm in.
That does bring me to Zendaya because when I look at her, truthfully, I think she can look good in anything. So what do you do to make her feel her best?
The reason that she can look good in anything because she believes that she can look good in anything. When I first started working with her, 13 going on 14, we had our first look. This skirt and this blazer, it was just so cute, right? We thought it was so cute. And right before she was about to walk out the door, she looked at me with uncertainty. And she said, what if people don't like it? And I literally just grabbed her hands, and I looked in her eyes, I said, who cares? And at that moment, I saw this switch. And literally, we have never had a conversation since that day about what somebody else would think about it.
Operating off that who cares philosophy, Law has built a global enterprise, making him the most successful in the world at his craft.
One of my platforms is to normalize success in my community. We're taught that you're successful if you're a basketball player, or you're successful if you're a rapper. I've been able to build a global business by literally at the core of it picking out pretty dresses for pretty girls. I love it because I get now to be an inspiration to other people who look like me.
Law Roach isn't sure exactly what's next in his career, but he knows it will be major.
I'm moving into more collaborations. I like to do things to prove to myself that I can do it.
Taking what he learned at his grandmother's home to create an impact on A-list style across the globe.
All these great people, iconic people that I work with, I want to be a part of their legacy. Like, I want to be a part of their story, even if it's the tiniest part.
There's more to come right after this. We end with a woman who's been described as a visionary in fashion and culture. Lindsay Peoples has accomplished so much at a young age, and she's not stopping anytime soon.
At only 31 years old, Lindsay Peoples is creating waves in publishing. She's already received high praise, made history at Teen Vogue as the youngest editor-in-chief at Condé Nast, and now editor-in-chief at New York Magazine's The Cut. And she's advocating for change.
You are living main character rom-com energy. Do you remember what parts of magazines you were drawn to when you were a kid?
I think it was just the storytelling. It was never just about the clothes. It was like how they weaved in the right photographer and the right story and bringing about the right tone and all of the things that just made it come together. I just remember feeling like it was a different world and I wanted to explore it.
Lindsay started exploring with an internship at Teen Vogue in 2011, but her inspiration started much earlier than that.
How did the women in your life shape your passions?
I've just been so blessed to have an amazing family, women that really loved on me and encouraged me. I talk about my grandmother a lot because she was somebody specifically that really helped me figure out what I loved so much about fashion, and she was dressed to the nines after work. The stockings, the dress, the shoes, the gloves. She walked with her head held high, no matter what.
This solid support system helped lead Lindsay to early success. A few days shy of her 28th birthday, she landed the editor-in-chief job at Teen Vogue.
You don't always want to have to make history, but you do.
Mm-hmm.
When you entered this industry, was that a mission of yours to make it count in a big way?
I was tired of the same stories being told. I was tired of the same people, styling shoots and it not being inclusive. And so I felt like if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it differently.
Doing it differently led her to a second editor-in-chief position at New York Magazine's The Cut, which averages over 10 million monthly unique readers.
Shooting Naomi Campbell for our first fashion cover, I was just like, this is my first fashion cover. I really want to shoot somebody amazing and just come out with a bang.
What is your hope for your readers?
Anything that I can do to make it more inclusive, whether it be industry at large or in this job, I'll do. We just call these mood boards. All the images we make affect culture and beauty standards and all of that. And so it's really important to be able to show people different body types and sexualities and hair and identities overall. To see different people like Tracy growing up, it meant so much to me.
What's advice that you receive from other generations that you really put to use?
There's a line in an Oprah book that I love that says you cannot defeat someone who knows who they are, and I feel like a lot of it for me has been just knowing that there are certain things that I need to do to move the industry forward. I honestly never thought I would be an editor-in-chief, so I feel really grateful that I've been able to do this twice. I want to be a ladder. I want to help people up, and I want it to be a little bit easier for the next generation of women of color for sure.
That's it for my series. Up next, for more inspiring stories, watch Today with Hoda and Jenna right here on Today All Day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.